When I moved into my new apartment, I thought it was the fresh start I needed, until I noticed my neighbor's unsettling behavior. Moving into a new apartment was supposed to be a fresh start for me. I'd just ended a long-term relationship and was finally ready to focus on myself, hoping to find peace in my little corner of the city. The building was quiet, a little older, but it had charm, and I loved the view from my third-floor balcony. I didn't think much about my neighbors until I met him. It was my second day there when I first saw him. I was hauling a box up the stairs when I heard a voice behind me, offering to help. He looked a bit older than me, mid-40s, with a friendly enough smile. "I'm Greg. I live right next door," he said, holding out his hand. I introduced myself and we exchanged a few words. Nothing unusual, just polite conversation. But as the days went by, I noticed him everywhere. He'd be standing outside his door whenever I left for work, and he'd always give a quick smile or wave. If I was taking out the trash, he'd be there in the hallway. And it wasn't just random encounters. It felt like he was waiting for me. One night, I was unwinding on my balcony with a book when I felt that prickling sensation that someone was watching me. Looking up, I saw him on his own balcony, just staring. I gave a quick, awkward wave, hoping he'd take the hint and look away. But he didn't. He kept his gaze locked on me as if I were a show he couldn't turn off. I went inside, brushing it off as just a weird moment. The next day, he left a note on my door. It said, "Saw you on your balcony last night. Looked like you were deep in thought. Let's grab coffee sometime?" I felt my stomach tighten. I hadn't told him anything about myself, hadn't given him any reason to think we were close. I ignored the note, hoping he'd get the message. But he didn't. His presence became more intrusive. Whenever I left or came home, he'd be there, trying to make conversation, asking personal questions. "Where do you work? Are you dating anyone? You look tired. Rough day at work?" His questions felt invasive, but I brushed it off, trying not to be rude. A few weeks later, things took a darker turn. One evening, I came home late from work, exhausted. As I unlocked my door, I heard his voice behind me. "Long day?" he asked, sounding too close. Startled, I turned around. He was standing in the hallway, way too close to my door, almost like he'd been waiting. I mumbled a quick "good night" and hurried inside, locking the door. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. "Sleep tight." My heart skipped a beat. I hadn't given my number to anyone in the building, and I knew it couldn't be a coincidence. Feeling sick, I blocked the number, but my gut told me it was him. The following days were a nightmare. I noticed strange things. My door would be unlocked when I knew I'd locked it. Little items, like my keys or a coffee mug, would be in places I didn't remember leaving them. At first, I thought I was just tired, maybe a little paranoid. But deep down, I knew someone had been in my apartment. One weekend, I decided to spend the night at a friend's place just to get away and clear my head. When I got home the next morning, my stomach dropped. The front door was ajar. I walked in slowly, my heart pounding, and saw that someone had rearranged things in my living room. My books, some photos, all in neat little stacks. It was like he'd wanted me to know he'd been there. I called the building manager, who listened sympathetically but said there wasn't much they could do without proof. So I bought a security camera and set it up in my living room, hoping to catch him in the act. 2 nights later, I had my answer. Reviewing the footage the next morning, I felt my blood turn cold. There he was, entering my apartment with a key, walking around, touching my things, lingering over the framed photos of me with friends and family. The look on his face was chilling, like he thought he belonged there. With that evidence, I went to the police. They took my report seriously, and with the video as proof, they were able to question him. Turns out Greg had copied a master key from the building's maintenance room, giving him access to any apartment he wanted. He was arrested for trespassing and harassment. It's been a few months now, and I'm still haunted by the memories. I moved to a new place with better security, and I'm working to rebuild my sense of safety. But I'll never forget the feeling of someone invading my personal space, of being watched when I thought I was alone. The experience taught me to always trust my instincts, and that sometimes the scariest monsters are hiding right next door. Update 1. It's been a few weeks since Greg's arrest, and I thought I'd finally be able to move on. But last night, I got a strange message on social media from a profile I didn't recognize. It just said, "Miss me?" My stomach dropped. I knew it had to be him, even though his account was anonymous. I reported and blocked the profile immediately, but it left me feeling uneasy. I realized that just because he's gone physically doesn't mean he's stopped trying to reach me. Update 2. I'd started therapy to process everything, but just when I was starting to feel safer, I made a terrifying discovery. While clearing out a box from my old apartment, I found a small notebook wedged under a stack of papers. Inside were notes written in Greg's handwriting, observations about my daily routine, where I like to shop, and even my friends' names. I felt sick reading it, realizing how long he'd been watching me without my knowledge. It made me feel like he'd been invading my life even deeper than I'd realized. Update 3. After finding that notebook, I decided it was time to reclaim my peace. I contacted the police again, and they assured me Greg is under strict watch and isn't allowed to contact me in any way. I've taken extra security measures at my new place, and over time, I've been able to let go of the fear that used to grip me. Therapy has helped me process what happened, and I'm finally finding peace. I've learned to trust my instincts more than ever and to protect my boundaries fiercely. This experience taught me the importance of self-preservation, and now I'm ready to close this chapter and move forward.